I guess what I can say that's important for the majority of us is don't let anyone devalue you and take who you are. No one. Because I don't have any reason to try to pump anybody up. But think about it. That small percentage, they have a lot of power. A lot of power. I refer to them as the coup. But anyway, they have a lot of power. However, they cannot survive without you. If you don't make any money, the country stops. You don't pay any taxes. You don't make any money. You don't pay any taxes. The world does not go around. So know that you're valued and that you're needed, and do your best at what you do and take it seriously. Because one of the many things I learned in my journey, the true reason I got, or Donlin got to be the company that it got to be, was the staff. They worked hard, they were very loyal, and I treated them like they were valued because they were, and respected them. Then there were many people outside in other jobs that did their job. I mean, in other words, not that they just did their job, but they cared. They cared about what they did. Trying to think of an example would be when we sued BP, we also included the city of Chicago and the Chicago Transit Authority. So they were kind of named in the complaint. So therefore, someone from the CTA, had to come for to do a deposition, and she was really quite high up. In fact, she was like director of something that really had a lot of value. And she had worked with Donlin, and she knew our work and what we did, and etc. So she didn't lie. She told the truth. And then even afterward, when I needed a reference, the reason I was able to get those, many of those contracts, be it from the Department of Defense, Michelin Tire, even the school system, it was because she gave us a good reference. She told the truth that we did a good job. And, she had no problems with us, our trucks, our drivers, etc., always on time. Bottom line of that, she could not control the larger picture of what was going on at the very top of the CTA. But what she could do was simply tell the truth. And she did that. There was another guy that was, kind of involved, and he kind of got scared and ran and tucked his tail, whatever. And then there was someone else that was really very high up, and they chose not to get involved at all. But she got involved. She told the truth. Now, that's what I mean. And even when we were getting the jobs from the Defense Department, I did what they told me to do. I sent them every piece of paper. I was on time with it. I followed up, da 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 da. So our stuff went through with records in a records amount of time because I did what they told me to do. They needed something, I got it to them. But they they didn't have to because they knew what the situation was. And believe me, it was like all the way to the White House because the person who was the gosh, he wasn't the CEO, but he was very high up in BP. He had worked for Bush Malone. He had worked for Bush in Bush's Alaska campaign, so he was, really close. Now I know you could say, well, that's not, but then when you cross all the dots from I could do a chart of how the chart worked from Goldman Sachs to Morgan Stanley to BP to the CEOs. They were all on each other's boards. So they were all basically in bed together. They knew each other, etc. So there was no way that I could have won that, but I could not have even have gotten that far had it not been for people who were, for lack of a better word, not part of the coup, just simply doing their job. And they knew what was going on, but they could still do their job and do their part. And that's what I say to everyone. It's just do your job, do your part, know your value, and that will help in the large scheme of things. That coup control power at the top, I don't know what to say about that. I don't think there's much can be done about that, but nothing goes on forever. I made predictions that BP would go down and they would lose millions time what they would have paid me when it was clear that they wanted me out. And of course, that happened. That happened exactly as I said it would happen. But but in the meantime, I didn't get the business back. I'll tell you that whole story another time. But the bottom line was, you just, no one gets out of this life alive. So at some point, sometimes something happens, and it makes life challenging. And that's my whole thing about not trying to make stuff hard for other people, because life is just going to be life. And you don't need to try to add because you think someone is doing fine and happy. So therefore you want to say, let's just interrupt this. We can't have this. To be continued.